As it winds its way through Saxony in East Germany, the River Mulde passes through the small town of Colditz. For the first 4 years of the war, Oflag IVc, as the camp was officially known, was an international camp housing men from France, Belgium, Holland, Poland, and of course British officers from all around the world. To be sent to this special camp, a prisoner of war had to have escaped from at least one other camp, or to have been declared durchfeindlich, or hostile, towards Germans. What the Germans had in fact created was a camp filled with the Allies' best forgers, bribers and escapers. Experts in all aspects of escape were gathered together in Colditz, which of course the Germans believed was escape-proof. It was not surprising, therefore, that very soon the prisoners set out to prove otherwise.
There was a manhole cover and Pat came in one day and said, "I think we ought to have a look under there." And I said, "Yes." I said, "Well, that's all right." I said, "I'll keep the sergeant occupied while you go down and have a look-see." He went down, came back, said, "Right, well, it does go a little distance, then there's a brick wall." But he said, "Obviously, I think after the brick wall, it's clear ground." Now, we were originally going to go quite a long way to come out down in the park area. Pat thought we ought to perhaps come up in that little grass patch outside the canteen window. There was a guard put on there, and the suggestion was that he should be bribed. I was always, I said no, I said it's too early in the war. Well, of course, the guard did very well out of it. Not only did he get our fee, shall we say, the Germans paid him and gave him some leave, because, you see, the night we came up, Preem and his merry men were waiting.
Though this attempt failed, its leader, Pat Reed, for a long time the British escape officer, eventually led a group of 4 prisoners out of Colditz and away to Switzerland. Peter Allen was one of the first 6 British Army officers to arrive at Colditz. Shortly after his arrival, an opportunity to escape presented itself.
They were changing mattresses on a horse cart, and Pat Reed shoved me in a mattress. I managed to have 50 Reichsmarks given me by Kenneth Lockwood, who was on the escape committee, but no food. It was a very quick escape, and I dressed, put on some short trousers and white socks and looked like an Hitler Youth. I was dumped in a place outside in the town where they kept the mattresses, and after about a quarter of an hour, when I heard no more noise, I got out, brushed myself down and walked to the station. And this was quite amusing, and I went to the station and asked the booking clerk, "Chemnitz, please." "Hin und zurück," which is the German for there and back, and I replied, "Nur hin, only one way, please." So I set off and took a train to Regensburg. I remember getting off the train and sleeping the night in the lavatories. And then I walked for 4 or 5 days, but I had no food, and it was in May 41. One day I was very tired and I did auto-stop, and a kind of a German jeep with 2 SS generals stopped and said, "What do you want?" And I said, "My baggage has gone, I left it on the train and it's going to X town down the road, and I hope the lost property office there, I'll get in." "Steigen Sie rein, get in." Not the time to talk a lot and show off your German. Anyway, I got away with it, and after 70 kilometers they can't take you any further. "Steigen Sie raus, get out." And I said, "Thank you very much," clicked my heels and gave the most marvellous Hitler salute. and quite frankly I needed a new pair of trousers after that.
Sadly, Peter Allen was recaptured 4 days later in Vienna. He was returned to Colditz 23 days after his escape. Of all the prisoners in Oflag IVc, there was one man who everyone, prisoners and guards alike, recognized as the greatest escaper of them all, and that man was Mike Sinclair. Altogether, Mike Sinclair attempted to escape 8 times after he was sent to Colditz Castle. 2 of these escapes were during the journey to the castle. Twice he was recaptured on the borders of Germany, but he never stopped trying to get out. In January 1944, he tried yet again, this time with Flight Lieutenant Jack Best.
Mike went he was first all the way. The rope went out and he went out, and I was, well, you know, practically touching him going down. The second he hit the terrace, he started disentangling the rope in case it got tangled up. My job was to get the end of the rope, which was obvious by then, to which was tied the attaché case, a little handbag we got, and throw that over the terrace. Mike went down the next bit. The length of the rope was perfect in that it was about a foot short, and the attaché case had fallen off. It was only tied on, you know, with a tiny bit of string, and we were there to lay there and wait for the music signal. As I went down, I heard the door opening into the guard room. The rope went back at an unbelievable speed. They'd heard it also, and the guard came out wearing spectacles from a room where the electric light was to outside where the floodlights hadn't come on. It was dusk, and he didn't know if he'd seen the rope go up or not, if you know what I mean. Luckily he was obviously looking at the castle when we ran across the garden, which unfortunately had been dug fairly recently. We left great footprints in which he hadn't reckoned on. Mike went to the left of the sentry box, because that was the blind side for the sentry who was going to walk up and down the other side, and I went into it. He was to cut the wire, hook the rope of the metal loop rather of the rope onto a post and go down the next drop. So you decided you cut them very slowly. 1, 2, 3 we had to cut. And the timing was unbelievable, because Mike knew nothing. He cut one, and the guard, I saw him turn round and look. Nothing there. Looked back there, Mike cut the next. That happened with all 3 cuts. And he then gave a weight and went through and away. And down into the backyard of a house that you could see down there. I stripped off my brass buttons, I don't know what I did with them now, opened the gate and walked out, owning the place, and just walked down the river. We got to Rhina. Alla wasn't with us, and there was a policeman obviously looking out of the window, probably thinking of nothing in particular, or thinking something, and suddenly saw me. Mike would have got away with it.
8 months later, in September 1944, 7 months before the castle was finally liberated by the American First Army, Mike Sinclair attempted a last desperate escape. Climbing the perimeter fence of the camp's exercise ground, Mike tried to reach the safety of nearby woods, but he had been spotted.
Mike Sinclair was killed, and I don't really think it was brutality on the Germans' part. He was told to stop, and but that was saddening, because I think he was awarded a DSO for, I think he was the greatest escaper of the lot, and he never thought of anything else except escaping.